All right, go ahead and get started. This is using Nagios as a security tool. A little disclaimer first off, in your programs it says I work at a community bank. That's actually no longer the case. I'm back to doing penetration testing. For those that don't know what that is, basically a company hires us, come in, do a security assessment, penetration test, and then we develop a report and kind of show them where they're lacking in security. So if that deters you, you can go ahead and walk away now. I won't be offended. Also, my demo, unfortunately, is not going to work. I think anybody that does this knows that VMs don't always cooperate. And my snort box blew up, and I was like, okay, I'll just rebuild it. Well, it didn't work out so well. So we got some slides, and then maybe we'll get out of here early and be the first to lunch, right? So we'll start with intro. Then we'll go into why we care about security, or why we should care about security. Then we'll go into what to protect, the threats to the things that we're trying to protect, and then how to protect it. So a little bit about myself. No, that's not my real picture. I think maybe the only thing we have in common is the belly. That'd be about it. I'm married, have 2 kids. Actually, second one was born a month and a half ago. I've been doing IT stuff for about 12 years now, concentrating in security in the last 6, 7 years. And like I said, I'm back to offense now. It's like playing football as a kid, Defense is never as fun as offense is. So I was working at a bank for a while and then made me an offer to go back to offense, so that's where I'm at now. I also run the local DEF CON group. Anybody familiar with DEF CON? Anybody heard of that? All right, good deal. So I run the local DEF CON group, DC 612. It's a good time. Any local people should check it out. All right, so reasons to care. A few reasons that we should care about security is to prevent data theft, deter identity theft. That one's really becoming more popular. I think so far this year, last time I checked, there were about 10 million reported cases of identity theft. Now, that's just, keep in mind, that's just reported cases. There's several people out there that don't even know they're a victim of identity theft, especially some like the senior community. They don't realize it till years down the road. Like, oh, I never bought that car. And then the other thing we want to do is avoid legal issues. It's timely, costs a lot of money, so avoid those. That's really become a problem with community banks because they usually don't have the best security. And most recent one was out in New Jersey. I think it was a construction company. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about. They might be more familiar with it than me, but they basically got hacked. The person siphoned the credentials for their online banking system and initiated a bunch of ACH transfers. Everybody know ACH transfer? It's a way to like send money electronically, fast. And they actually sued the community bank saying that they didn't have adequate security in place. So it's kind of, some of the smaller banks are actually being targeted more now because they're viewed as an easier target. They don't have the resources that a larger financial company does. But security in general is not limited to the financial community. That just happens to be what I'm most familiar with at this point. But it's every industry has to worry about it. And you want to protect the brand. Speaking of protecting brands, everybody heard of at least one of these companies, right? All of these companies up here have one thing in common. They've all been hacked this year alone. I don't know if anybody's heard of like Epsilon. That was the one where they got a bunch of email addresses. Some of them I actually thought were kind of funny. Like PBS, their website said that Tupac was still alive. Anybody see that? I thought that was kind of funny. Fox News, I think, said that Obama had been assassinated, if I remember right. So, and then RSA, that one was pretty bad. MySQL, that was actually a recent again. They were hacked back in March, and last week they're actually vulnerable to a SQL injection. So headlines. Headlines are good if it's positive, but you usually don't want to end up in a headline like one of these. It's bad for business. Bad for branding, can cause some legal issues. So these are not good headlines. Common thing that you hear in the security community, or at least that you hear when you're talking to clients, is it won't happen to us. Well, I'm here to tell you that's I was going to say bullshit, but probably shouldn't swear. It's BS. How about that? It can happen to anyone. Even your little mom and pop shop, 2 employees, they can get hacked. It just happened to a pizza joint recently. Mom and pop shop, they were actually siphoning all their credit card data, and then once they put it back together, they realized, hey, it's this place. They went in. Sure enough, they were siphoning all their credit card data. Even security companies. Anybody heard of Core Security? Maybe? Core Impact? Ring any bells? Probably not. Got a security tool. Yeah, it even happens to them. This was their a snip of their web page last Thursday. You can see it's probably not good for business. You know, if I'm a potential customer and I go to their website to learn more information and I see something like this, I might think twice about using their security tool. Pretty good ASCII art too, isn't it? So back to what to protect. There's several things that you need to protect, and the first one is data. Obviously, data is important. If it wasn't, why would we store it, right? The other thing with data is it's hard to protect something if you don't know where it is. So that'd be a good starting point, is figuring out where your data is, putting policies in place so users aren't storing all their documents locally, make sure they're on a server where you can protect it. Hardware, same thing. You know, protecting laptops is actually extremely hard to do. But you need to, same thing there, make sure you know where your hardware is, who's got access to your hardware. And then intellectual property, that's really become another big one that some people are targeting. Trade secrets. You know, if I'm from Kellogg and General Mills are separate, aren't they? I think so. Well, if they're not, we're going to pretend they are. If I'm from Kellogg and I want to know what General Mills is doing, what's an easy way to find out? Hack in and steal their trade secrets, right? So intellectual property is another one that you really need to protect. And then, again, the brand. So some threats to these things are default configurations. That one is extremely common. That's short of missing patches, that's probably the second biggest vulnerability in environments. Everybody's got, you know, 60 hours of work to do in a 40-hour work week. So they get a new device, plug it in, it works, great, done, right? You know, it could have, you know, default passwords on there that everybody knows. All sorts of just configurations in general that people haven't taken the steps, the extra measures to secure. Website defacement, like the Core Security one. Missing patches, that one's by far the biggest vulnerability to companies. Whether it's just they don't have an adequate patch management system in place, or they're using third-party products that doesn't have a good patch management solution yet. And there are companies out there like Shavlik. They've got a patch management solution. Whether or not it works good, we'll leave that up to you guys. DNS redirection is another one. That's actually what Core is claiming happened to them. They said that somebody got into their registrar and changed the DNS records to point it somewhere else. And then unused services kind of goes back to default configurations. You know, you put a server in there, it's got FTP enabled by default, but it's not being used. Well, if that FTP has write access, imagine what you could do with that. And unauthorized use, I will go into that a little bit more. And this is by no means an exhaustive list. There are several other threats. You know, you get end users. That's probably a big threat. But so go into monitoring for some of this stuff. That's why you guys are here, right? Learn about how to monitor for it. So why do you want to do the monitoring? Well, for one, automation. I don't like doing anything manual. I don't think anybody else does here. That's why we're at the NAUGUS convention, right? Early detection. I mean, you basically just want to detect it earlier. Where if Core Security hadn't detected, well, they were probably notified by several other customers, but if they didn't detect it early, how long would that be sitting out there? And you got to figure for every minute that it sits out there, it could potentially cause one more loss of sale or whatnot. Quick resolution, and again, it kind of goes with early detection. The earlier you detect it, earlier you can resolve the issue. And validating the integrity of your environment, making sure there's not